Here I am northwest of Carrizoso, New Mexico, and you might wonder why I'm taking a picture of this somewhat degraded kind of desert grassland here. And the reason is the following. Often when you drive through an area that's being grazed regularly by cattle, you can see the vegetation along the road, especially if there's a fence, and this vegetation benefits from runoff off the road, so it gets a little extra water, plus it's a warmer microclimate. And then you can compare it to the vegetation that's on the right here that doesn't benefit from the extra runoff off the road and doesn't benefit from a warmer microclimate. And in addition to that, it is grazed, and it's grazed, periodically at least. And you can see that along the fence line, there are cattle trails. So the cattle wander along the fence line looking for palatable plants to eat. And in the foreground here, you can see kind of typical Chihuahuan desert grassland plants. You've got yuccas, you've got different kinds of grasses, and you've got junipers, and a little higher up you'd have piñons. I got a feeling this area may have been chained at one time. You can see over here there's a tree that's broken, and likewise over there in the distance, once again, you got several broken trees. So some years ago, I suspect, in fact, here's another one just to the right of this juniper. I think this area was chained, and that is to reduce the woody vegetation and increase the prevalence of grasses. And so over time, particularly if you're overgrazing this area slowly becomes more and more arid, and you could say it becomes desertified, as in desertified, and slowly but surely more xerophytic plants, plants that can survive arid conditions, poor soils with very little organic matter, and the kind of regular onslaught of cattle looking for palatable plants. And on this side, you see what the vegetation might look like if it weren't grazed so much. And this is actually kind of a problem in a way. Here you can see the fence that these folks have put in, which is both pros and cons to it. This kind of fence, to some extent, keeps out, it keeps sheep in and cattle in if they got to hear. Deer can jump over these fences once they get a little taller, but pronghorn antelope cannot. And as a result, there's very little in the way of pronghorn antelope in these kinds of situations. You drive for miles and miles and miles in New Mexico, what would appear to be ideal pronghorn antelope habitat, and you don't see any. So it's too bad. But unfortunately, wildlife may be attracted to the additional vegetation here to graze on it, which means that rabbits, particularly jackrabbits, cottontails, come in here, and unfortunately crossing the road will get run over, as do other animals. Coyotes come looking for them, skunks, and also you have snakes and lizards that seek shelter where there's a little bit more vegetation. So being next to a road has its pros for the vegetation, but has its consequences for the wildlife in this area. So, signing out from the Chihuahuan Desert grassland here northwest of Carrizoso, New Mexico. As you go north, it grades into more of a kind of central plains, Rocky Mountain type habitat, grassland. You start the yuccas particularly fade out, as do slowly but surely the cactus species, because they're more susceptible to frost. So signing out.